Hello and welcome to this week's Women's Football Chat. My name is Chris Gadsby. I'm here every Thursday at 6 p.m. bringing you the very latest from the third and fourth tiers of women's football here in England. That's the FA Women's National League. Now, could be a bit of a shorter show this week because the weather really took a hold over the weekend. Only 7 FA Cup ties were played out of the 20 that were supposed to, and the league fixtures were decimated as well. But I will run you through everything that happened over the last 7 days. What we're going to start with, though, is some news, and we're going to start with the title of this video. They videoed a draw. Fourth round of the FA Cup was videoed on the FA Player. That's, of course, when the Women's Super League sides came into the competition in the fourth round. So the draw was videoed. It was great. I have to say, I wish they'd do it from the first round, but maybe that will come in later on. But it was fantastic. The draw was videoed. Forest got another away tie, which I'm sure will please Andy Cook. It's kind of become a bit of a running joke. But yeah, the one downside, and this isn't against the videoing of the draw, that's just how the draw happened. There is only, as it stands at the moment, one guaranteed FAWNL side in round 5. But that's just because of the way the draw was. You know, there's nothing that the FA can do about that. It's not a negative against the FA. That's just that from this show's point of view, a downside, unless we get a bit of a shock in the rearranged fixtures. Those rearranged fixtures, some are this weekend, some are in January. It depends on whether you have a championship side in your third round tie. If you have a championship side, then your replay is in January, because the Conti Cup, which isn't actually a Continental Cup, it's the Continental Ties Cup, which is the League Cup for the Super League and the Championship. That takes precedence over the FA Cup, as it turns out. So if you were against a Championship side, it can't be played this weekend because it's Continental Cup weekend, so it's being played in January. If it's an all FAWNL tie, it can be played this weekend. So there are 5 of those that can be played this weekend, and I'll run through those later on. But what we're going to do is we're going to start, as we always do, with the league fixtures. Now, as I said, there weren't many of these. If we look at the Northern Premier Division, only one, Brighouse Town against Boldmere St Michael's, was postponed. So there is nothing to talk about with the table. So let's have a look then at the results in Division 1 Midlands. Now, there was meant to be 4 games. 3 of them were postponed. Doncaster Rovers against Lincoln City, Longington United against Northampton, and Stourbridge against Sheffield all called off. Only game that took place was Leek Town against Leafield Athletic. Goal for Leek Town, Paris O'Connor. And goal for Leafield Athletic, Grace Murphy in the 71st minute. What it means for the table is nothing. Leek Town stay in 10th, but they're now on 9 points. And Leafield Athletic stay in 5th, but they're now on 16 points. Division 1 North, 2 games in this one. 2 postponed, Barnsley against Chorley and Hull City against Merseyrail called off. Middlesbrough 2, Bradford City 1, York City 0, Norton Stockton Ancients 3. Goals for Middlesbrough, Amber Rogers and Francesca Ward. Goal for Bradford City to Ariane Parnham. They also had Monica Stubbs sent off, did Bradford, so they finished with 10. Norton Stockton Ancients, a good 3-0 victory over York City. All the goals coming in the second half. Bianca Owens in the 57th minute, and 2 for Sophie Tierney, 73rd and 81st minute, giving Norton and Stockton Ancients the victory. What it means for the table, Middlesbrough are up 2 places. They are now in 4th. Leeds United and Stockport County dropped down a spot, having not played. And Norton Stockton Ancients are in 7th. Hull City and York City drop down a spot as well. So movement in the mid-table, but the top and the bottom stay as they were. Nothing in Division 1 South East, so we'll move to Division 1 South West. AFC St Austell 1, AFC Bournemouth 6. It's Bournemouth that come out on top in the battle of the AFCs. Goals in this one, 4 goals to Lucy Cooper, 22nd, 25th, 40th and 65th minute. But Bournemouth were 5-0 up at half-time. Molly Clark in the 38th minute also with a goal for them. So it was 5-0 to Bournemouth at half-time. Tegan Ridgmond got one for AFC St Austell inside the final 20 minutes of the game. But Hannah Hughes with 12 minutes to go made it 6-1 to Bournemouth. And that's how it stayed. So Bournemouth with a convincing victory. And a victory for Moneyfields. 4-1 over Maidenhead United. Beth Burgess opening the scoring in the 5th minute. Natalie Cowell equalising just before half-time. 45th minute for Maidenhead United. 1-1. Then a second half hat-trick for Koalani Taylor, who came on in the 46th minute. 54th, 64th, 67th minute. A 13-minute hat-trick. Moneyfields win 4-1. What it means for the table is that Moneyfields are up 2 places. They're in 5th now. Chelsea and Swindon Town drop a couple of places. So Moneyfields in 5th with a game in hand on those above them. So they could get up to 4th if they win their game in hand over Southampton Women's. Right. I told you that wouldn't take very long to go through all of the league results. One other bit of news to talk about before we have a look at the FA Cup results. I'll cover all of the Cup in one go. The FA Women's National League have announced the final venues for the Plate, the League Cup and the Championship Playoff. So, date and times this is as well. So, the Plate competition... the Plate competition final is being held at Solihull Moors. That's the Armco Arena. On the 26th of March. Now, the reserve plate competition final kicks off at 11:30 and the plate final kicks off at 3:30. So that's the plate. The League Cup is being held at Burton Albion at the Pirelli Stadium on the 23rd of April. Again, reserve League Cup final at 11:30. The League Cup final at 3:30. And the Championship Playoff Final is at Stadium MK in Milton Keynes on the 20th of May. Kickoff is at 1 o'clock in that one. Now, it's great that it's been announced so early. Something that was brought to my attention by Nick of the Wolves Women podcast, and yes, is a fair point. But again, not something that the FA Women's National League could really do anything about because they obviously had the ability when they had it. But the 20th of May, Saturday the 20th of May, is the Championship Playoff Final. Now, for the teams in the North, which is looking likely to be Wolves, Forest, Burnley. Now, on the 20th of May, although of course these could get moved for television, Wolves are at home to Everton in the Premier League, the men's teams, and Forest are at home to Arsenal in the Premier League. So that would impact the travelling fans, you would think, that would go down to Stadium MK for the women. It's not something that affects the teams in the south because the teams in the Southern Premier that are near the top of the table aren't, Oxford, for example, they aren't in the Premier League. Of course, and Watford aren't either. And basically, there aren't Premier League teams in the south, is what I'm trying to get at. So, maybe that is potentially an issue for the teams in the north in terms of fans coming down, perhaps. But at the same time, like Everton against Wolves could be a relegation game, so that could be moved to a Sunday. So could Forest against Arsenal. Any of them could be moved to a Sunday, and then that problem removes itself. But great from the league to put those games out so early, and hopefully I'll be able to get to one or more of them. Right, let's have a look then at the results in the FA Cup. So then, FA Cup third round, as you can see on that screen, or if you're listening to the audio version, I'll explain it. 8 fixtures on this first screen, only 1 went ahead. Coventry United 4, Stockport County 2. Goals to Stockport County, It was 2-2 at half-time in this one. Kenzie Bentley, 4th and 30th minute with the goals for Stockport County. Every other game on that first screen: Burnley Norwich, Peterborough Durham, Leeds Stoke, Birmingham City Huddersfield, Blackburn Rovers Sunderland, Liverpool Feds West Brom, Sheffield United Forest, all postponed. Page 2, Newcastle United 1, Wolverhampton Wanderers 5 is a result that has not been put on full time. But Wolves with the 5-1 victory over Newcastle United. Solihull Moors against Fylde postponed. Cardiff City 5, Bournemouth Sports 0. Cardiff City, then a brace for Corey Williams, a brace for Kerry Bartlett, and one for Ruby Scahill, giving Cardiff a comfortable victory over the only fifth-tier side left in the competition. We are now entirely FAWNL and above. Bristol City 2, Southampton 0. That's, of course, an all-championships tie. Bristol City winning it. And Hashtag United 3, Actonians 0. A hat-trick for Samantha Rowland. 14th, 44th and 80th minute, giving Hashtag United the victory. Just remembered, of course, that Newcastle United against Wolves, for some reason on full time, is down as postponed, which is why there's no information. And we get a real corker later on, which I'll talk about in a bit. The final screen then: Ipswich Town 7, Portishead Town 0. 2 for Anna Gray, 1 for Maddie Biggs, Sarah Brasso-Chiera, Bonnie Elizabeth Horwood, and Abigail Lafayette. That's only 6 of them. There is also... it doesn't say. So 6 have been put down, but it was a 7-0 victory, but only 6 goals have been recorded. Oxford United 3, Plymouth Argyle 0. Goals to Oxford, 8th minute Lily Stevens, 41st minute Leah Burridge, and 68th minute Daisy McLaughlin. That is the final tie we can talk about. So the games that are postponed, that are being played this weekend instead, are Solihull Moors against AFC Fylde, AFC Wimbledon against Gillingham, and Burnley against Norwich, Leeds against Stoke. Those are the games, and Liverpool Feds against West Bromwich Albion. Those 5 games are being played this weekend. Instead, the games that are involving championship sides are being played on the 8th of January instead. So as you can see, yeah, it's getting a bit on the messy side. Right, results in the plate. There was no results in the cup this week, but there were results in the plate. And Southampton Women's finally got their plate competition underway. They beat Hounslow by 8-0 in the first round of the plate. Goals for Southampton, then Summer Kilby, Emma Jane May, Shannon Sivright, 2 for Hope Sumanin, 2 for Gabriella Trucknam, and 1 for Sean Wiley as well. And that does make all 8 goals. Then in the second round, Billericay Town 6, Queen's Park Rangers 3, a brace for Zoe Russian and Ruby Seeley for Billericay Town. Bio Parker and Lucy Jones also getting goals. Queen's Park Rangers goals coming to Amelia Cutler, Melanie Hall and Lauren Jordanson. But it's Billericay Town who progressed through into the quarterfinals. And Crawley Wasps 2, Ashford Town 0. Although if you look on full time, it says it was abandoned. But if you look at Crawley's Twitter and Ashford's Twitter, the game went ahead. It started snowing with about 10 minutes to go, but the game was completed, and it's a 2-0 victory for Crawley Wasps. Amelia Ajo and Keris Jones getting the goals for Crawley, who are through into the next round. So, those are the results from the last 7 days. Let's have a look at the fixtures coming up in the next 7 days before Christmas. We'll start in the Cup because we have Cup competitions, Cup and Plate. I've already been through those FA Cup fixtures that are taking place. So, in the FAWNL Cup second round, Hashtag United against Watford. That's on Saturday. They moved that to avoid a clash with the FA Cup final, World Cup final on the Sunday. Plymouth Argyle against Cardiff and Portsmouth against Oxford United. Now, these are all ties where either the team progressed in the FA Cup and their opponent's out, or the FA Cup replay involves a championship side, so it can't be played. So we've got 3 cup ties, 1 plate tie, which is the second round tie between Southampton Women's and Swindon Town. Right, let's have a look at the league fixtures coming up then, because we can dive into this in a bit of detail. So, Southern Premier Division, Billericay Town against Bridgewater United and Cheltenham Town against Ipswich Town are 2 games in the south. Billericay Town are currently 5th, Bridgewater United are in 7th. Now, Billericay Town can climb up to 4th with a victory. They can go level on points with 2nd, but unless they beat Bridgewater by 19 goals, then they're not going to go 2nd. So Billericay Town could go up to 4th. Bridgewater could go up to 6th with a victory. Cheltenham Town against Ipswich. This is 4th against 6th, so it's mid-table battles here. Ipswich, with a 4-goal victory over Cheltenham, could go 3rd. But also they could also just go joint 2nd on 19 points. So we could end up at the end of this weekend with Oxford United in 1st on 24, and then Watford, Portsmouth, Ipswich and Billericay Town all on 19 points. Although Ipswich and Watford would have games in hand on Billericay Town. So those are the games in the Southern Premier Division. In the North, we've got 3 games scheduled. Durham Cester against Hull City, Newcastle United against Merseyrail and Stockport County against York City. No games in the Midlands, I should point that out. So Division 1 North, Durham Cester against Hull City. That is top of the table Durham against 8th place Hull City. Newcastle United against Merseyrail. That's 3rd place Newcastle against 11th spot Merseyrail. Merseyrail with a win would lift themselves out of the bottom 2. And Stockport County in 6th against York City in 9th. York City looking to just increase the gap to the bottom 2. Stockport County looking to keep the pressure on at the top. A win for Stockport County, if other results go their way, could mean they go within 2 points of the top. Division 1 South East, we've got games to talk about in there as well. London Seawood against Actonians, that's 5th against 4th. They're both on 13 points. They both could go well. Actonians with a win could go 2nd because of their goal difference. London Seawood with a win would only go into 4th because of their goal difference. Ashford Town against Chesham United, that's 9th against 8th. Opportunity for either of them to put even further gap between themselves and Hounslow at the bottom. But it is the bottom 2 that meet. Hounslow against Cambridge City. Cambridge City in 10th on 3 points. Hounslow on 11th, yet to get off the mark. Should Cambridge City win that, there's then a 6-point gap for Hounslow to make up. Yes, they will have 2 games in hand, but even if they win those 2 games in hand, they will still be bottom of the table. Because of their goal difference. Chance for Cambridge City to just give themselves a little bit of breathing space between themselves and Hounslow at the foot of the table. Finally, in Division 1 South West, we've got AFC St Austell against Portishead Town. That is bottom of the table, AFC St Austell against 8th place Portishead Town. Portishead realistically are probably going to stay in 8th even with a win. They'll go level on points, but because of their goal difference, they're unlikely to climb up the table. Exeter City against Larkhall Athletic, that is 3rd against 10th. Larkhall desperate to make it a 6-point gap between themselves and the bottom 2. And Moneyfields away at Keynsham Town, that's 5th against 9th. Moneyfields could climb another spot with a victory. This is their game in hand over Southampton Women and Exeter. They could get themselves to 17 points and try and keep the pressure on Bournemouth and Exeter. Cardiff City, of course, 5 points clear at the top at the moment. This, interestingly, is Exeter City's game in hand over Cardiff. So if they fail to beat Larkhall Athletic, then they find themselves 8 points behind. If they do beat Larkhall, they're 5 points behind with Bournemouth and just nibbing at Cardiff City's heels. But that's it for all of the fixtures for the next 7 days as well. So that'll do it for this week's women's football chat. Now, next week will be another short one because there aren't any fixtures to look ahead to. It's only the results. Now, the weather forecast, well, for my area in the Midlands, should get a little bit better. Still kind of like 2 or 3 degrees, but hopefully if we don't get a horrible frost overnight, then some of the fixtures will go ahead. But I think what we'll do next week, we'll have a kind of mid-season review of some of the stats and what have you, just because otherwise I feel if some of the games are postponed, I mean, you've seen there are, about 15, 16 games. So that's not going to take very long to go through, particularly if a load of them are called off. So rather than putting out like a 5-minute show that said, here we go, we had 3 games, this happened by, I think we'll take a bit of a dive into a kind of mid-season report for most of the leagues and have a bit of a look at the FA Cup and what have you. So thanks very much for watching and or listening this week's Women's Football Chat. As always, if you want to get involved with the show, you can contact me on Twitter at Chris_Gadsby. But keep supporting your local women's football team. But as I said on Twitter last week, particularly this time of year, check before you travel because games are getting postponed on the morning of. Venues are getting changed to 3G pitches just to try and keep games on as well. So check before you travel so you don't end up turning up to a game that's called off or to the wrong venue. Thank you very much for watching and or listening to this week's Women's Football Chat, and goodbye.